Okay, this is going to be a tutorial for how to use Industrial Park. It's a level viewer and editor for Battle for Bikini Bottom, and I think other Heavy Iron games. I'm not so sure. Just going to click on Archive Editor. We're going to hit File, Open, and I usually start with boot.hip, which has shiny objects, it has golden spatula, textures, and all of that. So we're just going to start with that. And let's open a level. So we're going to do hub, which would be HB01. So open the hop, and you'll see it's pretty big, and it contains the level itself, textures, sounds, and similar things. So we'll see it's really barren and uncolored, but we can fix that. So we're going to hit and open a new one. And we're going to open the hip, which is everything in the level. And you'll see it's going to be filled. So first of all, we're going to hit display. Click on trigger, and that'll disable or it'll hide all the triggers. So now you get all these boxes and stuff. And they're not textured, so we got to do that. So we're going to add textures. And Seal Weiss, I think Seal, was nice enough to extract all the textures for Industrial Park for all the levels. So I'll link that if I remember, but we're going to do HBO1, the level we're on, and give it a few seconds, and boom, it's all textured. And there's invisible walls, there's all the blocks, there's a bunch of stuff here. So let's see, what can we start editing first? So here's the missile. Let's do that. So we're going to click on the missile, and you'll see there's 3 big triangles or pyramids, and these let you move it. So if we do, oh, my controller timed out. Okay. So if we do this one, it moves it this direction. Let's move it here. If we do this one, it moves it here. And if we do this one, it goes up and down. So let's do here. That looks good. Have it in the air. So let's start editing this. So we moved it. That's part 1. So now we can do some more with it. So we're going to open our hip. And you'll see the bomb is selected. If we click different things, it selects them. If we also click some of these things, it'll select them in the level. So we want whatever this one is. For some reason is number 7. I'm not sure, but so you'll notice there's this little number and letters here. That's the asset ID, which is what allows us to add more objects in game. If we go over and we look at some file source, this stays on top. Not sure why, but let's look at this. So if we go into settings, you'll see a bunch of layers, and then you'll see these asset IDs, which are what these are. And you could edit them, and if we were to add a new one, we would give it a new one or a new ID that's not used, and then the file called hip or the program called hip hop tool can rebuild it and add in the new things. So a quick BMS was the old way. It couldn't allow new objects in. So I'm gonna close out of that. So we have our bomb. If we hit edit here, it just tells us the name, the asset type, the ID, some flags. I'm not sure what these are. Import and export raw data basically is what the hexadecimal is. So if we export this, we could edit it in a hex editor, and then we could import that. It's nice for when working with enemies and adding new enemies. But let's change some more of this. So we'll hit into edit, and now we got a little screen that pops up here. Not screen, but whatever. So we got our asset ID again. Asset type, I'm not sure what these are. Events, usually if there's something like a teleport box or triggers used to them a lot. It's like if then. So if it receives event, let's say what's the event? So let's say that's hit. If it's hit, then it will send, and where was that one at? Kill. So if this is hit, it will kill, and then we have selected asset. So if this is an NPC, we could set it if hit, then kill, and then we put SpongeBob's in, and it will kill SpongeBob when they are hit. And that's pretty cool. Here's the hexadecimal. You'll see a bunch of stuff here. This 0020 is the position. Before, you had to manually edit this and then reload the game, and if it wasn't right, then you had to go edit it again and then rebuild it and all of that, but that's a lot better now. So placement. Visibility flag. If this is set to 0, it will be invisible in game, but still solid. Unknown flag, unknown. Solidity. If set to 0, it's supposed to not be solid. I'm not sure. It hasn't really worked for me. Unknown, unknown. Position X is just more precise of what the red is. Y is more precise of the green. Z is more precise of this. So if we do just 56 to 7. Oh, we're at -7. There we go. And then rotation is what it's rotated. So if we do rotate X, we can do like 20. And it'll rotate over some. So we could do like 45. And now it'll be rotated 45 degrees. Y usually just spins it and changes the texture. You'll notice it spun around. It doesn't really do much most of the time. And then there's Z. We could do 15 or 45 here. And then there's scaling. So scaling makes it bigger or smaller. So it's 1.85. We could do 2. 1.85. We could do 2. And then we could do 2. And now it's a bit bigger. If we do 1, it'll be smaller. So if we want a thinner missile, we could do 0.5. Now we get a little torpedo. I guess it's our torpedo. But if we do 4, we can get like a nuke. You can do a bunch of stuff. For characters, it usually resets whenever their animation plays, so that's not good. But stuff like Tiki's or anything that's not in a T pose, it'll work with. So now we got color. So X, Y, and Z, R, G, B, there will probably be renamed. It goes 0 to 1. So if we do 0.5, it'll have 0.5 red. We could do 0 green. And then we'll do 0.5 of that. So now it'll be 0.5 red, 0 green, 0.5 blue. And then color alpha changes the transparency. If we do 0.5, it'll be half invisible. Unknown is unknown. Model asset, I'm not sure. And then this, I'm not sure. So now that's edited. It'll be changed in the game, but we can also do something over here. So we got the platform. So you'll notice there's some squares. So we click on them. You got MP, which is in here, which means move point, which basically means it goes from point A to point B or point C, however many there are. So we can drag this away. So its point A will be over here now. And then point B can be somewhere over here. So when this button is hit, it'll start here and it'll go over to here. These one are with these, if it has a move point, you usually don't want to move the object itself. You can always add a new one. If I wanted another platform, I could hit copy, and then if we go to int edit and we click here, you'll see it says our BF5. So if we go over here, if it's on here, I think these have a lot more data though. Yeah, these have a lot more data with it. Other Is that it? Yeah. So FC93BF4, which is this one. And if you create a new one, you'll have to give it the new move point ID. So we're not going to mess with that. But these ones, they don't have a move point, so you can move them as much as you want. Let's move this button here. So it probably won't look pretty, but I'm just going to move it some. I'm going to leave the balloons there. The button's all that matters, but I'm just moving the block with it so it doesn't look bad. That's probably not centered at all. And then if we turn on trigger again, you'll see there's a bunch of stuff here. So we got, when we're within this range, we could enter the pineapple. This one, Mr. Krabs will talk to you. This one causes a sound effect to play. But we got our button moved. With these square triggers, you usually do not want to move it with this. If we go on to here, you'll see there's a lot more stuff. There's radius and all that. I'm not exactly sure how to use all of these, but if you'll notice, this is like a square. But if we drag this, it breaks it. So you usually never want to drag it unless you really don't care about the size. But that one is, it tells you to press Y when under a button. So we moved it up there because the button's up there. Did we move this? Let's move this some more. So we got the missile, got the platform. I'll disable this. And then we got that. So we could move taxi pads and we can move the warps. So I could just make the warp anywhere really and have to go find it, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I think we're done here. So we'll hit File, Save, and then I'm going to close out of that so it doesn't stick. There's a bunch of stuff you can disable and enable here. But yeah, so let's switch over to the game. There it is. So I'm using a not stable version because it lets you have AR codes, but if you want to play from the files, which is what I'm doing, it will give you all the files to the game. And then you could edit these and then play from it, rather than having to edit them, rebuild it back to a disk every single time. It's really helpful. And with here, you'll notice there's hips and hops, and in those is the files of the game. So if we go here and we click on the HBO1 hip, wherever it's at, you'll notice a bunch of familiar things. These are all tikis. So let's see. Tiki wood 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it goes from 8 to 10. So let's change that. Let's make another tiki. So we'll click on here. Oh, this is 16, 15, 14. Okay, 16, 17, and then it goes to 19. So let's make number 18. So we're going to hit copy, and it'll bring us back to the top. So you want to click on here again. And it's copy 0. We're going to have to rename that because, see, it's not the same. So when you click on 18, it'll give it a new asset ID that follows the last one. So we're going to copy this because we need to change something with it. So we got 18. If we go to int edit, it says F7. But F6. This doesn't really matter for tikis, but it matters a lot more for enemies and other things. But we're just going to change this because some things, like with the music, it refers to a certain one. So if there's multiple, it could break. But we got tiki 18, and now we can move this one anywhere. And this will be added to settings automatically, so you don't have to do that. So we have the new Tiki. We could do something like, let's give it a color. And then let's do a scale of 5. It's going to be a tall Tiki. There we go. And then we could do something like 45. There we go. So he's looking a lot different now. And let's do 0.25. So it'll be mostly invisible. So we hit save. We're done here. Let's go in game. So I'm going to load it in game. Turn on my controller. Make sure the controller is enabled here. It is. And after a little bit, it'll load in game. And there's the edits. So we got our missile. Usually, oh, hello? Oh, it tapped me out. Usually, animated things such as NPCs or vills don't do so well when scaled. You'll notice he got a lot thinner. His collision is still the same. You'll notice he's not solid, but he's still tilted, just a smaller version, and we're getting zoomed out. So our missile has changed, the collision on it's changed, but the alpha doesn't work well with NPCs or things that are animated. So if we hit this button, it'll play out the cutscene, but oh, our thing's not there. It spawns over here now. So if we do Squidward's house, so I can get this. Oh, I never really do this, so I'm not good at it. But if we go up here, we move the button. So now if we hit Y, it activates, and our platforms are moved. See, you'll notice there's some name changes here, and how to do that is you go. Once you're done with this, or before you start it, you can take your hip and then you extract it with hip hop tool, and it'll give you all your folders. And then we can go to text, and these will edit the text in the level. Menu 4 is the pause menu. Menu 5 is music. So we go to menu 4, we go to text. You want to ignore all of these. You want the ones with the numbers in them. So open text 101, which should be hub, floating platforming. So then you'll edit it, you'll save it. Here's your, let's be any. So you'll save that, and now it'll be edited. But if you want the saves or changes to take place in game, you have to rebuild it with hip hop tool. So you select this, you'll select your any, and it'll rebuild it, and then you put it into your files. And yeah. So if we go to trigger, do something a little fun here. Let's edit in front of SpongeBob's pineapple. Set this one to kill. This one should work. Okay, it starts conversation with, I think, Plankton. So we could add a new one. Okay, that's not SpongeBob's. We need SpongeBob's. Okay, SpongeBob is... Where is he? He's here. So I'll copy his. Click on that. So we have SpongeBob if receive enter player, then kill. And then we'll save X out of these so that they don't overlay the game. And now when we reload this, hopefully when you enter it, it should kill the player. And there we go. SpongeBob dies whenever he tries to go home. There's a bunch of different events. Not all of them work, so you have to fiddle around with it. One's called a hit. Usually don't work on here, but they work whenever you bowl into it for some reason. But that's basic editing. Then you can do more advanced stuff, such as like changing what the spatula counts are, moving levels around. There's a bunch of different things you can do. But yeah, I'm done here.